Good morning. What we're going to do today is a little repair work on the solar shed. We had a rain a few weeks back that was driving in from the north and caused some damage onto the solar shed around the window. This area around the window here is comprised of a single layer of cob, and the clay content wasn't high enough, and as a result it basically dissolved when the rain hit it. The rain in conjunction with the dripping from the overhang. Everywhere else on the flat portions of the wall, this is all two layers, with the second layer of cob being higher clay content. We left this around the window because we thought it looked kind of cool. It was a different texture, a different structure. And it does look good, but unfortunately it didn't hold up to the weather. So today we're going to make a new mixture using finer chopped straw, higher clay content, and I'm going to add about 5% Portland cement to give it a little bit more of a structural integrity. So let's get started. When building the solar shed, we used a cement mixer. This time we're doing a single batch in a wheelbarrow. We're going to use the same recipe though, which is 2 gallons of water, 5-gallon bucket full of our native soil, and 2 gallons of clay. That's a little higher clay content than in our original recipe. And of course finely chopped straw as well. And at the end we added in 4 or 5 trowels of Portland cement. And now it's just a question of letting Yvonne mix it by hand using a hoe. It came together pretty quickly. The first thing you want to do is make sure that your substrate is good and wet. We use a garden sprayer, and it was probably about 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and the temperatures were getting close to 90 degrees already. So it was really important to keep spraying down the substrate. The addition of the Portland cement in our mix caused it to be a little bit thicker, so we needed to also keep spraying down our cob material. But it applied nicely, and we had no problem getting it to stick to the wall. Here you can clearly see that Yvonne and I have different techniques for applying cob. I tend to rely more on trowels and tools, whereas she's a little more hands-on and likes to spread the cob using the heel of her hand. And actually I think her technique is probably a little faster. Both techniques work, and the end result looks good. When doing vertical portions of the window frame, you'll see that using 2 trowels is really beneficial. One you hold perpendicular to the wall and use it basically to create your edge, and the other trowel then is used to spread the fresh cob. You can see that sometimes I will actually leave the trowel sticking to the cob while I go grab more material, and the cob material is so sticky it actually holds the trowel like a magnet. This cob mixture had a good working time. I think the total time it took us to go around this entire window frame was just under an hour, and it was still good and workable. We continued to wet down the substrate as well as the cob mixture, though, while completing the work. Here you can see we're mixing the cob mixture with a little bit added water, just to keep it good and workable. So as we were coming to a completion of this window, we decided to do the other window on the east side of the building as well, because that window had one coat of cob on it as well. And even though it doesn't get hit by the driving rain quite as much, we figured the tools are out, we're in the middle of the process, let's just get it done. As you can see, working the cob, it's just a lot of finish work. Different trowels, different edging tools, just to try to make it look as good as possible. Here you can see I'm using a small trowel that I ordered on Amazon in Germany. And when Yvonne was on vacation over there, she brought it back, along with a rather large plastic trowel as well. These tools were very difficult to find in America. In fact, if you found them, they would be shipped from Germany. And it's a great finishing tool. This is where the sponging begins, the final step. And again, this is just used to smooth out the surface of the cob. It exposes the straw a little bit, which gives it a slightly different look. And it also allows you to close in any kind of small pock marks or holes.
We finished the cobbing and we did the sponge work around the windows. It took us a few minutes to get our technique back. We hadn't done any cob in several months, but once we got going, it was fine. We did mix, as you could see in the beginning of the video, we mixed this this batch or these 2 batches in a wheelbarrow and added some Portland cement to it. So it'll probably dry with a slightly different tone, but that's okay. It'll have a lot more stability. In fact, Yvonne and I were talking about it, and we're thinking of adding just a tad of bit of Portland cement to our top coat when we build the house as well. So we decided to do both windows, even though this window here on the east side doesn't get pummeled with rain quite as bad as the north side. We decided while we're at it, let's do it, because this window had 1 coat on it as well. So here's the big window. This was the reason we did this whole thing. And when we did the sponging, we go along and really create a slurry to close up any little pock marks and holes that we might have, and also to close the transition between the new work and the old work. Anyways, that's about it. If you have any questions about the solar shed, about our cobbing, or anything else that's going on here, let us know. We appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next video. This is the result of the cob mix that we made yesterday. It dried substantially lighter than the wall, and it was really only influenced by a very small amount of Portland cement. Perhaps on this full batch of cob you see for this window, there was probably 4 small trowelfuls of Portland cement, and yet it made that big of a coloration difference. Doesn't bother us. It just adds another element of design to the building. In fact, what it does now is it matches the straw bale bench over here. Anyways, just want to let you know what happens when you add Portland cement to your cob mix.